As an Oakland native, it is definitely an honor for me to be here and be your moderator today for this mayoral forum. Before we start, there's a few things I need to highlight. First of all, we had 15 candidates in this race, and 12 of the 15 are here today. Give them all a round. It's a lot. I will introduce them in alphabetical order, the ones that are here today. Saeed Karamoose, Rebecca Kaplan, Peter Liu, Patrick McCullough, Brian Parker, Jean Kwan, Courtney Ruby, Libby Schaff, Nancy Seidelbaum, Sidebotham. I want it right though. Dan Siegel, Joe Tuman, Charles Williams. A few of the ground rules tonight, we have timekeepers in the front. They have colored marked signs, 30 seconds and stop. Each candidate has an opening statement that's 1.5 minutes long. If you go past that, when you get to 1.5, I will graciously have you stop. The order that was selected for the opening remarks were pulled by drawing numbers. So the order that will be for the opening remarks, for the closing, will be the reverse order. The closing remarks, you only have 1 minute. We have 5 questions, and each candidate has 1 minute to answer the question. So all candidates will answer all 5 questions, and each will have 1 minute. And once again, I will graciously stop you if you go past your 1 minute. Also, there are no rebuttals. So your answer is your answer to the question. So with that, we will start with our first candidate who drew number 1. For her opening statement, Rebecca Kaplan.
It is wonderful to have an opportunity to spend time with all of you talking about this important decision about the future of Oakland. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I'm running for mayor of Oakland to bring strong leadership for our city, for safer neighborhoods, for local jobs, and for a city government that is responsive and respectful to the public. I grew up attending Orthodox Hebrew Bible School, and the first job I ever held was as a Bible teacher. I then went on to attend MIT as an undergraduate, where although I majored in what most people call psychology, what they call cognitive science, my unofficial major was campus activism. Together with grassroots community, we worked to end the university's investment in any businesses that were invested with the apartheid regime in South Africa. And so I had an early experience of activism bringing about social change. I got to volunteer on the campaign for Senator Kennedy, and then I went to law school out here and decided to work as a housing rights attorney in Oakland, fighting against wrongful foreclosures and unjust evictions. I was elected in 2008 to the City Council at large seat and re-elected in 2012. I know we can build a future in Oakland with local jobs and local business contracting, where we support our local economy and make sure the uplift applies to everyone in our community.
I'm Pat McCullough, and I haven't been in office before, mainly because I didn't want to. I'm probably like a lot of you here who was hoping that the people who were most interested in running for office, collecting money, trading favors, were going to do at least what we needed done instead of looking out for themselves. But I've been very disappointed. In my 20 years living in Oakland, I've gone to the city council, I've gone to the county government, trying to get things taken care of that affected my neighbors, my own family, and people around town that I hadn't met, but I had read about and empathized with their problem. Every time I did that, I was extremely disappointed. So, as will probably happen to some of you, if it hasn't happened already, you're going to be left alone without the support of the government that you're paying for. I don't want that to happen anymore. I want us to get past all these petty problems, these identity issues where, you know, I'm the first this, I'm the first that, and vote for what makes sense. I ask you to look at my record. I've been around for 20 years, and there's no way I can hide what's been going on. And compare that with the other people who have maybe been in office for that time. See if they've done the things that they should have with their power, with their microphones, with their authority. Or have they let you down too? I guarantee you They let you down in the past, which you will see by checking their record. They will let you down in the future. It's time to get past all this frustration, get past inefficiencies, and do the things that's right for our future by electing me, Patrick McCullough. Thank you.
My name's Libby Schaff. I was born and raised in Oakland, graduate of Skyline High School, and I was raised in a family that was truly committed to community service. I like to say I've got dirt under my fingernails from every neighborhood in Oakland because I have been doing volunteer work across this whole city my entire life. Now, my first career was as an attorney at the largest law firm in Oakland, but I left that to start a centralized volunteer program for the Oakland Public Schools at the Marcus Foster Educational Institute. After that, I've had 15 years of both legislative and executive experience in Oakland city government, from being the chief of staff to the president of the city council, special assistant to Mayor Jerry Brown, a director of public affairs at the Port of Oakland, and now as a council member for District 4. As a council member, I have fought hard to bring a holistic approach to public safety, not just more police, but better policing, intervention and prevention programs, and addressing the root causes of crime. I've also fought to strengthen our small businesses by bringing an innovative microloan program to Oakland in partnership with our great city attorney, Barbara Parker. I'm very proud to be an Oaklander. As Oaklanders, we are creative, we're compassionate, and I'll speak for myself. I can be a little scrappy when I need to be. I would be honored to have your support in this election, your first place vote, or some other place on your ballot. Thank you so much for being here tonight and caring about the future of our incredible city.
Thank you.
My name is Saeed Karamuz, and I am here to talk to you about the decision that we have to make in the next 2 weeks. It's an important decision, and it's a decision between who's going to be on the right side of history and who's going to be on the wrong side of history. I won't dwell on the grave issues that we have with our unemployment, our crime rate, our high school dropout rates, or the unfair evictions. The question is, who would be best suited and qualified to help solve these issues? Starting with the 4 incumbents, the mayor, 2 council members, and the city auditor, who have gotten us into the place where we are, we can be sure that they are going to be on the wrong side of history. The others who oppose the $15 an hour minimum wage, the ones who are believers that 800 to 900 new, growing our police force to 800 to 900 is the answer, and who are supported by Chambers of Commerce and the East Bay Rental Association, King of the Landlords, are on the wrong side of history. On the other hand, those who believe in the $15 an hour minimum wage, who are opposed to unfair evictions and support tenant rights, and believe that our public safety is solved by reforming and demilitarizing our police force, restorative justice, job training, and education
Your time
are the
is
right
up, sir. Sorry.
side of history.
Hi, my name is Peter Liu. I'm a 80% disabled service-connected war veteran. I came here when I was 7. I've been to the Oakland Public Schools, been to the university, and then I went to the Army, served in Iraq, and I came back and I couldn't find a job for 2 years. I was poor. And so I had to create my own company. That was the only way for me. And now I'm a multi-millionaire. I own lots of real estate, and the way I did it was through my method called CESP5, which there's a copy outside on the door. And I didn't did it with, I didn't work like $15 an hour. You would never get to where I'm at. So we have to teach the kids today and the people who are out of work how to survive in this world by creating their own companies. And that's what I'm about. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. My name is Joe Tooman, also a candidate for mayor. And I would like to share with you tonight my concerns and issues for this city, which focus narrowly on public safety and on economic development. And those things are not unrelated. They're actually 2 parts or 2 sides of the same issue. The underbelly of crime in this city is without question poverty. When you are poor, when you are hopeless, when you feel desperate, you will do desperate things, and that could happen to any one of us in this room with a life change that involved a change in your health, loss of a job, a change in your relationship with someone. It could be any person here. That means that government must address in a more meaningful way than we have before poverty if we're going to really meaningfully make a dent in crime and change the narrative of this city. Tonight, I hope we'll have some opportunities to directly answer those questions with respect to public safety, but I would want you to know with respect to poverty that for me, this is very much about addressing housing. You have to put a roof over someone's head. It's about education, which for me as a mayor would mean meaningful participation with the school district in the 20 to 25 underperforming schools in East and West Oakland to make sure we address truancy and graduation, reintroduce vocational education where possible, and also address preschool education in those places. And finally, it's about the attraction of more businesses for jobs. Thank you.
I'll start with a story of ending my day in Sobrante Park, where after I'd last knocked on the last house, I happened upon two young women, and they were huddled by my car, and I think that they expected me to give them one of this just say no to drugs kind of talk. But I went up to them and I told them that I was running for mayor, and I said, you can have my card and call me. And I said, what could your city do for you? And they looked up at me and they said, I'd like a GED and a job. It should be a shame where we live in a city as rich as this, where that is the aspiration of any of our residents, to be able to get the equivalent of a high school degree and a job. We are clearly the tale of two cities where we have underinvested systematically in education and economic opportunities for decades for some. And this divided city that we have, City Hall has failed to step into the breach. So I question the people that are already a part of the machine now saying that they're going to bring leadership or now saying that they're going to bring change falls on hollow ears to me. I'd prefer to look as the San Francisco Chronicle did when they said we need a fresh start. We need somebody with a different perspective, business acumen, and a mind for our whole city. So I was proud that the San Francisco Chronicle gave me their sole endorsement and to be included on the Pastors for Oakland slate. Thank you. Brian Parker.
You know, Oakland is a city of great problems. We continue to have high crime, we have unsuccessful schools, we have high unemployment, and we have galloping gentrification. Yet this campaign, as it enters its final 2 weeks, is a campaign of low expectations. The incumbent officials say they haven't done too bad a job. They can do a little better job, depending upon which one you listen to. But that's not enough. To be a great city, we need great expectations. We need leadership with a vision, not to make a little change, not to tinker around the edges, but to make radical change, to create a city that works for all of us. You know, I've been a civil rights activist since I went south in 1965 to register voters, and I've been a civil rights lawyer for the last 40 years. I have a vision that says that Oakland must deal with poverty. It can't just allow things to go the way they've been. We need the $15 minimum wage. We need to create jobs. We need to intervene radically in the Oakland School District, which graduates less than 50% of its African American and Latino students. We need to reorganize OPD to end police misconduct completely and forever, and to redeploy more than twice the number of officers now deployed to work in our neighborhoods with the 700 who are authorized. And to deal with gentrification, we need to create thousands of affordable homes.
Thank you.
I have a vision to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am the mayor of Oakland, and I'm proud of the work I've done. I want you to judge me on my record. I have a lot of friends at this table, and they're promising you a lot of things, but I want you to look at my record. I walked in the door and found within a week that we were $58 million in deficit. We're issuing a budget report that says that our income will be $26 million above projections. I was able to work with the unions to get the police to pay into their pension for the first time, and I've been steadily bringing police back up to the point where on Halloween we'll be above 700 officers for the first time in 4 years. I've reorganized the police so that you, if they don't show up, you can call a captain and you can call a beat officer and say, what's up? That we can hold them accountable. And not only is crime coming down in numbers higher than the other parts of the country, our homicides will be the lowest in 20 years if we keep on this record. And to me, that means a lot. The last year of Jerry Brown's administration, 147 people were murdered. We're going to be in the 60s. And more importantly, our police officers, for the first time in history that we can find in written history, have not even fired their guns for over a year. There's a change happening. Oakland's on the change. An economic investment, I brought in 3 projects that are literally bringing in billions of dollars of investment that's helped cut the employment in half and has helped give our young people hope.
Thank you for forming this evening and inviting us all to hear what we have to say and why we're running. I'm running because I'm angry, I'm fed up, and I'm tired of how Oakland has. I've lived here for 50 years, and I've seen Oakland continue to go downhill over that period of time. I see other cities around us growing and busting out at the seams, and yet Oakland continues to spiral downward. The leadership needs to lead. They don't need to micromanage the departments. We need to hire people that know what they're doing, that can run the departments with authority and precision, and not have to worry about whether we have something that works in this city. I'm a Cal State Hayward graduate. I went to Merritt College on Grove Street and graduated there in '68. I've been involved in the city and in politics since 1982. I've run for city council in District 6 a number of times. And all I want to do is bring the people together and give them the chance to take back their city. We have to stop having outsiders, developers, and certain groups out there continue to control the city. They ask for your vote at election time, and then you're forgotten about. We need to change that. We need to fight back for where we want to be and where we want to go. We have a future in Oakland, but if we continue the way it's going right now, we are going to continue to spiral downward, and we are going to be in bankruptcy. Thank you.
I'm Courtney Ruby, and it's time to tell it like it is. We have the best city in the Bay Area. We have everything that we need to succeed right now, but something is holding us back. We need to fix Oakland's broken government. I'm a CPA and an auditor. I've spent my whole professional career separating fact from fiction and getting results. I've taken a troubled agency and made it a model of accountability, transparency, and results. From one of the worst to one of the very best, I know we can do it because I've done it already. I know what we need to do. We need to start with public safety. From that, everything else will get easier. We need to identify, through waste and mismanagement, enough money to hire 200 more police officers. We need to drive high-wage employers here, and we need to increase our economic base so that our kids have a fighting chance to succeed. Besides being an agency head, I'm the proud mother of 2 brilliant boys I'm raising in Oakland, and I want them to be safe and strong and successful. They deserve, and we all deserve, a city government as great as our city, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm asking for your support.
I am a retired chief from the Navy. I have lived in most of the world, and I don't think that everything that is so bad as is mentioned is that bad. You should go to other foreign countries and then see how bad things are. We are very blessed, I'm going to tell you that. We have a lot. We have lost our moral fiber. This is the problem. The other problem is that there are no jobs here. And I'm not going to knock the city administration because there's enough of that. I think you're tired of that anyway. But what we need to do, my plan is to reorganize and revigorate downtown Oakland. There's about 5 million square feet of empty space down here from what I was told. I'd like to rezone and rebuild all those buildings, turn them into houses, apartments, apartlets, from $850 a month to $3,500 a month for custom units. In addition, there's about 400 to 500 different size vacant lots throughout the city. Manufactured homes, they work. People in other parts of the country use them. Let's get them here, and let's get a lot of people off the street, and let's attack the homeless program. And OPD is no problem. I was in counterterrorism and counterintelligence for about 10 years, and let me tell you something. This is not the worst. This is no problem for me. And I want you to keep that in mind. When you see that thing, that vote, that ballot, you look at the chief. And I'm the guy who came from the street. I used to live in the street. I was a street kid, eating garbage out of a can. So here I am today.
So the first question is, hiring local residents is paramount to stimulating the local economy. As mayor, how will you move to establish a firm local hire commitment from all City of Oakland projects?
Thank you. More important than creating jobs here in Oakland is having skilled citizens who can take jobs around the region. We lose focus on that. So the number one thing to do is to focus on job training for things that can be ramped up quickly and have our people fight and win jobs around the area. So that was the number one thing I would do, is focus on job training. Secondly, I would work on having the apprenticeship programs with the developers who make money in our city more robust, so that when they go through the apprenticeship program, they are then enticed and attracted to take those people to take the jobs in Oakland. I don't believe that it's easy, or I don't believe it's practical to enforce the 50% or 75% local participation. They make great sound bites for politicians, but they don't make good job policies.
I have a job training program. It's called CESP5, in which I have thousands of people come into a convention, and we separate them into a different zip code. And what they're going to do is they're going to share their business idea to their own respective groups, and they're going to vote on who's got the best business idea. And the person with the best business idea is the president of the new company, and they're all co-founders. And then they'll select who's going to be the treasurer and secretary based on the votes. And with that leadership with the group, they come up with a business plan that answers who, what, when, where, and why. Why are they starting this business, where they're going to be located, why they're doing this, how they're going to get the funding. And once they have that business plan, then they could start figuring out ways to operate. I've been a poor person, and in 10 years, I'm a multimillionaire using this method. So I think it's a very sufficient way to start jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that you have to realize is that home. Problems for people who cannot find jobs start in the home. We have got to find the catalyst and the way to start training kids in the 1st and 2nd grade. We're going to have to start counseling a lot of family people, parents, so to speak. We're going to have to raise kids. This is one of the problems we have to attack. The big thing is training. Every union in the Bay Area has a training program, every single one of them. And I was at Castlemont High School a couple of months ago, and I talked to all the union people. And I've been in the union since 1981. In Local 39, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call and say, you want to be an apprentice. That's all you got to do. And trust me, if that many unions in the Bay Area are trying to get people, all we have to do is respond. You know, we need to get off our tails and think sometime, too.
Well, let me start by saying that I support the concept of local hire, and I will also contrast this in my answer with project labor agreements, which I'm supportive of to an extent, to the extent that they also include local residents. One of the things that I despair about with the PLAs and the trades, and I've said this to them, by the way, is that when I look at the union roles, I don't always see diversity there that reflects the diversity of our community. And too often in public contracts, project labor agreements dominate this discussion over local hire. And I think that's a problem. So as mayor, I would hold the trades associations accountable to that to make sure that there is diversity in the union membership, or I will not be supportive of PLAs over local hire. It has to be fair both ways. The second thing I would say is that I do agree with Saeed that the apprenticeship training that we do is not adequate right now. I think that we need to write the public contracts on this differently. We need to manage the process of apprenticeship differently. And we also need to support small local contractors who are also doing this apprenticeship, making sure they have access to capital so they can carry these kids with them while they're training them.
I want to be specific because there are a lot of generalities that get put out when we have these kinds of conversations. Number one, we need to improve education and job training For example, to make sure that our young Oaklanders get hired for all the jobs in the new hotels and restaurants that are being built. And we do that in conjunction with Laney College. Number two, we follow the Cleveland model to create worker-owned cooperatives to provide laundry and greenhouse services to schools, hospitals, and other large installations, and to install solar power throughout the city. Solar power employees make $25 an hour. Those are good blue-collar jobs. We can create hundreds of them. And third, we have to use the city's power much better than we're doing now. When we contract with a garbage company or for the port, we need to have ironclad agreements to demand that Oakland residents get those jobs, and we need to enforce those agreements.
One of the problems Oakland has is there are no jobs in Oakland. We have a lot of training facilities, a lot of nonprofits that are helping youth and training them, but we don't have any jobs in Oakland, and we need to bring them to Oakland. Oakland is a union town and a manufacturing town, and we've lost the manufacturing. They've all gone overseas, and we need to start at the local level to fight to bring those jobs back to the USA, and specifically Oakland. The kids today have lost hope. We need to figure out how we're going to keep them in school so that they have a future. Instead of being on the streets shooting at each other or robbing and breaking into cars, and, you know, this needs to stop. And until we give them a reason to want to stay in school and a future, we can have all the wishful thinking we want, but we're letting our youth down. We need to change that. Thank you.
So first of all, we have to strengthen our existing local hire requirements that the City of Oakland already has. And there certainly may be projects where 50% is not enough. We could actually require higher than 50%, with the thought that over the course of the year, we've got to average 50%. That's something that has been talked about in the past but never implemented. The second thing is we know that when we give preferences to local firms tend to hire locally. And so you kind of have a double bonus when you also enforce those requirements as well. But I agree with a lot of what Dan said and a lot of what has been said about it's not just the city having policies that require local hire, it's also ensuring that our Oakland youngsters are qualified and ready for those jobs, not just the ones that the City of Oakland are offering, but the other firms and opportunities in the city. We could be much more aggressive in using the power of a PLA to require unions to hire not just locally, but from organizations like Cypress Mandela, Men of Valor, so it's not just any Oakland jobs, but the people that really need the jobs the most.
It requires long-term vision and accountability. What we know is that we have to have Oakland workers who are job ready. So it goes back to workforce development, making sure that when our kids graduate, that they have the basic STEM skills. So when they are applying for these jobs, they're ready. And we know that that is a problem, that Oakland doesn't have a long-term vision and strategic plan in place to meet the employer's needs. The other piece of the equation is accountability, that we've got to have compliance. So we can increase the local job hiring requirements, but if we're not meeting the requirements today, we're already failing. So we've got to have compliance systems in place and that accountability that holds these projects accountable to meeting the requirements, and then make sure that our residents are job ready for those jobs.
So this is something I've been working on for, it seems like 25 years, and now we have a new superintendent who is really looking at reforming our high schools, and please vote yes on Measure N. As mayor, I reestablished Elihu Harris's education cabinet, and this is one of the main things that we're looking at. How do we link learning for kids? And one of my goals particularly has been to increase the summer internship programs. The year I became mayor, Congress killed the mayor's summer job program. I raised first 500 jobs, then 900, then 1,600, and this summer we had a record 2,100 jobs. Now, why did I do that? For one thing, well, I knew that would give kids productive and good things to do, and it would make the street safer, and it did. But more importantly, I know that kids who have internships are more likely to graduate from high school, and if we can combine it with joint enrollment in the community colleges, that we'll have kids who have abilities and the skills. We've worked really hard to get 50% higher at some projects, but in private industry, we have to also get the kids to have the skills.
So there's at least two significant things we need to do differently to genuinely enforce and manifest local hiring. People in Oakland should not have a hard time finding a job. And that includes the attitude we have with developers. We've had developers come into Oakland and make all kinds of promises. Some who promised ground floor retail to serve the surrounding neighborhood, and they didn't put that in. And so it requires on the local hiring that we make clear that we are serious about this. We're actually going to check on your numbers, and if you aren't doing it, we're going to come back and find out why and make sure that gets changed. But we also have to make sure that we are creating the pathways to the jobs and the real local jobs. We have in Oakland, people say, how can you solve so many problems? We have a pothole problem and an unemployment problem. Well, why don't we combine the pothole problem and the unemployment problem? Let's get out there and actually fix our streets, fix the broken buildings, do the work that needs to be done, and because those will be city contracts, we'll have direct enforcement authority over the local hire while also doing something that improves the community.
Well, you know, in months and years past, when I ran out of things to do for entertainment, I'd get a beer, glass of wine, and sit down and watch the city council meeting. Because it's really hilarious to listen to people who've had the authority, had the microphones, had the opportunity to make sure that locals got hired, to put that in the writing, to go and make sure people are accountable, the developers, the government officials, the unions that they deal with and seek endorsements from. It hasn't happened. So for me, it's all a bunch of bunk, because it's a very simple thing to make sure that you're going to get 50%. They've never done it. This average 50% is, okay, something else is probably going to fall through the cracks. It's a very simple thing of taking leadership. I'll make sure it happens. I know what we need. We need education. We've got to have motivation. We've got to make sure these developers come in and want freebies from us and favors. They do what we want them to do. If they don't do it, move out the way and we'll get other people in here who will bring their money in and do it the way we want it. I'll make sure it happens.
So I think that this is a what and then a how. And the what is more jobs. I have a plan, and you can check out my full economic development plan on the website, of 20,000 jobs here by the year 2020. Port, trade, and logistics, healthcare, retail, and technology. You've heard about the local preferences and the local hire. I also think that we could use tax incentives to increase the incentives for people to hire locally. One of the other things that I think we need to do within local hire, and I think this was brought up by Councilwoman Kaplan, is to finally follow through on our disparity study. So it's not just locals, but it's those underrepresented groups that we can offer jobs to. I think that we've got to hire and recruit companies that want to hire locals too. So that'll be a part of our training process. So we will announce next week a partnership with a company that's already in Oakland, Spark Art, and a new one to put 20 disadvantaged youth to work. It'll also be a part of our training program, and we do need to train people that they're ready for the jobs of tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Balancing the budget is an important skill for any mayor to have. What is your experience balancing a budget, in particular, with decreasing revenue?
Since I've been mayor, despite the fact that I walked in the door with $58 million deficit, we first got the unions to agree to go on furlough so that we didn't cut the city services even more and put ourselves in even more of a hole. And they gave up 9% for 2 years. And then when the city economy came up, we returned that 9% and gave them a small increase. So I think you have to use, you have to be respectful of your workers, and you have to be fair. Every part of the economy, we've tried to invest in those areas that would help us grow the economy. So we're on our 6th police academy. We have added people for economic development. We've added specialized teams for restaurants, so we have 200+ new restaurants. We have protected industrial areas like the Oakland Army base, which has reached its 50%, is 52% higher, and even more for apprenticeships. And finally, we've recruited $1 billion investors for Brooklyn Basin and Coliseum.
The whole thing is you have to create jobs. You can't wait till 2020. You got to do it tomorrow, yesterday. And again, refurbishing and rebuilding downtown and all this stuff down here needs to be done. We'll hire about 5,000 people right off the bat, and all the ancillary support entities that you need to support something like that. That's the secret. And I don't look at so big of a problem that it cannot be served. I was a situation cleaner in the military, which is I went around and cleaned up bad commands. So I don't look at problems that they're so great and insurmountable that you can't solve them. Simplicity is the best thing in this whole thing. And again, jobs, training, honesty, dignity, and getting the confidence of the community.
I have spent 8 years as the elected city auditor identifying millions of dollars in waste, lost revenue, and mismanagement. When we talk about the Oakland government needing money, what I know is right now I'm proposing mandatory management audits to identify enough money to fund 200 officers. How do I know we can do that? Because when we looked at the Public Works Department, we found $9 million that was identified in savings by reducing crew sizes, streamlining operations, and focusing on core services. When we went in and looked at the emergency medical services with Measure M and N, we identified $1.4 million sitting in a fund balance that the voters had approved. And I told the administration to return the money or use it. So what they did was they bought 3 fire engines and took someone who was being funded off of the general fund and funded off of M and N. That's how we get revenue.
Thank you.
Of all the candidates here, I'm the only one who has been a senior executive in global companies with over 300,000 employees, larger than GM. So to be specific, I first of all have published that I would have a participatory budgeting process so that the people of Oakland can influence how the decisions are made. Number 2, the $15 an hour minimum wage will raise the standard of living for many so that they don't have to rely on city services. And then number 3, which probably have the most impact, is streamline many of our business processes within the city. For example, our public safety is 40% of the annual funding for our annual budget for the city of Oakland, yet for the like-sized cities and like characteristic cities, we have the fewest number of officers per capita. There has to be some savings in there that we can find. Thank you.
Budgeting for a city is very different than budgeting for a private concern. As someone who's run a nonprofit, I have had to build and manage budgets for nonprofits that had some restrictions. But the City of Oakland's budget has more than 160 restricted funds in it. And even the general fund, which is theoretically unrestricted, it has all sorts of constraints by voter-passed measures, and it is a complicated beast. And it is a beast that I have gotten to know well for the past 15 years. Also, as the Director of Public Affairs, I manage the budgets of 3 departments at the Port of Oakland. So I bring a lot of experience in balancing budgets, particularly during times of decreasing revenues. And I'm sorry I won't get to talk about long-term financial planning, addressing the unfunded liability.
I like the way Mr. Karamos put it in terms of doing things both more effectively and cost-effectively, better and cheaper. And so I wanted to share a couple of examples of my perspective of what that should mean. For example, when we fail to repave streets on time and they get done later than they should, they have fallen further apart and cost more to fix. And so, for example, Oakland right now has millions of dollars that were allocated to us for street repair that have not yet been spent simply because of the slowness in the process of putting out those work projects. And so by speeding up those work projects, doing more blocks at a time, we could actually get more streets paved more timely for less money. Similarly, we need to cut red tape for our small local businesses. People are being given the runaround by the permit desk, given 3 contradictory answers to the same question. Then they can't get their business open or their construction project done. And we are wasting money in both staff time and the time of the person trying to do their project. That's another way we could save money.
I'm a tax preparer, so I understand budgets. I understand finance. And when you start looking at the city and how it functions, the first people you need to talk to are the unions and the people that work for the city, because they know where the problems are, where the money's hidden, and what makes the city function. The city budget for the last couple of budgets has been a couple of pages. In the past, when you had a city budget come under Koshin, under Henry Gardner, it was 3 inches, 4 inches thick. Now, you don't see any of that. So we're not privy to the information on how the city actually works. The other part of this is that we don't really have anybody in the city right now who's all the people that understand the budget and know how the city functions have either quit or left or retired. We need to change that. We need to bring people back to the city that actually want to make the city work. I'd like to see the city of Oakland audited. And then we're going to find out where. And I'm not talking about Courtney or her office doing it. Thank you.
So I have experience on both the public and the private side. On the private side, as a chief financial officer, chief operating officer, and general manager of an $800 million revenue division of a large healthcare company, which I helped grow from $400 million. And this is not just about expense management, but it's expense management and right-sizing, and then it's growth. I have also experience with budgets here in the city, having been chair of our Workforce Investment Board and now as a port commissioner, where I helped a small team refinance our debt, which left us $50 million in saving. On the revenue side, we need more businesses here. That will increase our revenue base without upping the tax rate. Public-private partnerships, retail, and other new revenue lines. We've got to get out of the business of thinking that the only way that we can bring more revenue to this city is to tax our residents. So it is responsible fiscal management on the liability side and more revenue. That's how you get to balanced budgets.
That's your time.
I went from having zero money to owning like multi-million dollars in real estate. And these are like my property tax bills. I pay like tens of thousands of dollars in annual property taxes. And if I could get from zero to like multi-million dollars in 10 years, I could show the people to do the same ways I do. Okay, that's creating companies. You're not gonna get rich on $15 minimum wage. That's way off. So I have to ingrain people as young as middle school with leadership skills, with know how to teamwork, how about honesty and integrity. None of these are taught in the public schools. I've been there. None taught in the university. At the university, you got like 50% of people plagiarizing on papers. That's not cool. When they come out, they're not gonna be successful. Okay, they're gonna be like employees. They're not gonna be successful employees either. Okay, you got to learn how to be employers. Okay, that's the masters of a society. All right, thank you.
I have experience adopting balanced budgets with the school district, with the Housing Authority Commission, but I think that's really the wrong question. When we focus on balancing budgets, it means we accept an austerity model, which is, as people know, is being fought across Europe today. We accept the status quo where 70% of our children live in poverty. We have to grow our budget, not just balance the budget. It's unacceptable to me that we have an education system that's failing, that we don't have youth programs, that we don't have park and rec that works for people in this city, that our libraries are facing closures. We do not accept the austerity model in the city of Oakland, which accepts the status quo. Instead, we need to work to expand our financing so that we could provide people in this city with the programs they need to truly prosper as human beings.
Well, the first thing we need to do is to stop following bad examples on how to balance a budget. So you see how the school board got balanced into, what, bankruptcy and receivership? We're next. If you follow the wrong rules, you follow the wrong leadership. What we need to do is to cut waste, be more efficient, and as mayor, I would make sure that we change the way that we deliver services. We don't have to have somebody being paid $60 an hour to go and do something you can get a trainee for $20 an hour. But if you're beholden to people who demand that you employ their people at $60 an hour, you'll never have a balanced budget. So I've been in and out of budgets. I know. I've been working for a nearby city for the last 17 years. I know this stuff inside out. Nobody can hide from me because I've been there. I know just where the money goes and where it's wasted. I'll make sure that we don't waste money. We'll use volunteers, we'll use trainees, we'll use retirees. We will be more efficient, and we will also try to increase our revenue.
Well, I think your precise question is, what's your experience in balancing a budget? So here's my precise answer. I've been a department head at a university, a public university, for many years. I've worked with my dean in those years to live within the budget constraints that we have laid out for us. And here's the key point. When you have a dictate given to you, which is that you only have so much money to work with, you have to meet that, but not compromise the service that you're providing, which in our case had to do with class size and quality of instruction. And I consistently worked within that and made sure those weren't compromised. This is a transmittable, not skill, but value in terms of managing here, because what we suffer under when we don't meet our budgetary needs is we don't deliver the services like public safety or infrastructure repair that are the basics that the city needs. I would also say, if you'd like to know more about how I would balance a budget, please go to the Oakland Tribune online and look at the full interview. It's 37 minutes they did with me where they asked these specific questions, and I gave very specific answers about debt servicing, capital improvements, and also ideas, for example, about what you do with one-time accumulation of revenues like we had this year and how you should set it aside for one-time expenditures.
Number 3, today is the 25th anniversary of Loma Prieta earthquake. This city was devastated. Retail has not been the same since then. So the question is, what will you as mayor do to attract and bring major retailers back to Oakland?
I think that Oakland has a kind of secret sauce, and that we as a city have got to celebrate our unique flavor. And so it's not always having a big department store. It can be a lot of smaller stores and lifting up our small businesses. We have an incredibly talented community of entrepreneurs in this city, and they are some of the ones that need to be supported first. I was very proud to work with Barbara Parker to bring the Kiva Zips microloan program to Oakland. That is a kind of program that's going to help our own organic businesses grow, and that's who I want to give some preference to before pulling in some sort of national chain. Now, we can incentivize different retailers to come to Oakland because we don't have redevelopment anymore to kind of entice them with money. We do have the power of zoning to entice them with housing bonus credits, and that's something that we have done in the Valdez area, and that will give us a nice, vital area of mixed housing and retail together.
Thank you.
So this was achieved before, and that means it can be done again. Just up Broadway from here was where people throughout the region came to shop, came to go to the theater, came to do their shopping at a whole array of department stores that served everyone in Oakland and the wider region. And that is worth potentially millions of dollars to Oakland's tax base. That's how we pay for the services we need. We agree that we care about things like parks and public safety and after-school programs. But if we're not serious about attracting the retail, we won't have the money to pay for those things. Plus, it's better for people who live here to get to shop here because we also then end up getting the jobs. As mayor, I would commit to reaching out directly to the prospective businesses, to invite them to come here, to let them know that we want them here, to cut the red tape so that they aren't put through permit nonsense to come in, and to use the large parcels of land that we have. We have Lake Merritt BART Station that's just a parking lot. We have areas up Broadway. We can have shopping for everyone.
First, we have to have the leadership to deliver a safe and well-run city. We have got to address the dysfunction inside City Hall in order to attract the retail that our residents so desperately want. When we look at leadership inside City Hall right now, we know that we have a revolving door when it comes to department heads like the police chief, the city administrator. So when we talk about attracting retail, we've got to get public safety right. We know that people are not coming here because of public safety, and we do not have the density to attract that retail. So when we look at Oakland and we create a vision by, number one, delivering on public safety. When we deliver on public safety, then we've got to increase the density. That means we have got to make sure that we have the housing units here and that we are building up. And with that density, then we have enough volume for retail to come in. But no one will invest in the city if it continues to be broken and we cannot deliver on public safety.
In the economic system that we have, companies that have goods and services to sell will come where there's a market. So what can we do to make Oakland a better market? Number one, we raised the minimum wage to $15 because people who make $15 spend a lot more than people who make $9. Two, we do need public safety. I've talked to retailers in the Fruitvale and other parts of the city. They want cops patrolling in front of their stores to make sure that they and their customers are safe. They also want the streets to be fixed, and they want parking tickets to be lowered. Parking tickets are a big distraction and discourage people from coming to shop. We need to build housing, affordable housing, and market rate housing, because the more residents we have with money to spend, the more people will patronize businesses, as they're doing downtown with all the restaurants and clubs. And finally, we need to fix the City Hall red tape, which makes it harder for people who want to do business here to get the licenses and permits they need.
There's two problems about retail. One is there's been the historic greenlining of certain neighborhoods. I can remember talking to the CEO of Trader Joe's, and he basically said he wasn't going to go east of Lakeshore. I said, you know, the East Oakland Hills have some higher census tracts in terms of income than Montclair, but still that was the position. So when Foothill Square opened this year, and we got the first new bank since 1968, and we got a grocery store to deal with the food desert out in East Oakland. That was not just an economic issue, it was a social justice issue. The retail in Oakland has also gone up this year, and you may not have noticed it because it's like Libby said, not the big stores. We did get a Target. We've got the big stores at Foothill Square. You will see some new national chains on Broadway along the corridor. But in Temescal, along International Boulevard, total 1.4 million square feet, and more will come, particularly with the density downtown. With the sales of the Sears building, you will see some national chains.
Getting retail to come to Oakland, we've got to deal with the crime issue. Crime is big business in Oakland. It brings in a lot of money. And until we change how we attract the Justice Department grants, the CDBG funding, and how we put our hands out asking for the state and the feds to continue helping us, we aren't going to change the mindset of how we deal with crime in Oakland. Businesses won't come to Oakland. The stores at Foothill Square, they're already having problems out there. We lost Mervyn's and Penny's at Eastmont Mall. There's council members that have been trying to attract businesses here to Oakland, and it's very difficult. We have the spending power, but we have a very bad reputation that scares people off from coming here. Everybody goes outside the city to shop. Yes, we've got some fantastic small mom and pop shops, single-family owned shops and stuff, but people don't want to come to Oakland. Thank you.
So I think part of this starts with making sure that we're more prepared from an emergency preparedness point of view, and that we're investing in our old inventory and making sure that we have buildings that could stand up in the face of another catastrophe. I actually do think investing in big box and attracting big box is smart because it brings more foot traffic that could go to supporting the local businesses. Also, we have to start thinking about our expansion, not just downtown, but in all our neighborhoods. We do have to address safety. Retailers are concerned about this, as are other businesses. We have to tell our brand and sell our story so that all the stories that are being written about Oakland aren't just about all the bad things. Immediately, I would hire a chief jobs officer who could go out with me and recruit and make sure that we bring companies here. Lastly, we have to streamline the processes for our business. They're mired in too much red tape, and we have to make it easy and send the signal that we're open for business. Thank you.
The whole problem with Oakland is things are happening. You got to pat yourself on the back for that. There is a lot going on. Look at Temescal. Look at Lake Merritt. Look at all the parks. Look at all the beautiful infrastructure that you have. The big thing is $80 million is what East Oakland garners in crime money a year or thereabout, and that's a low figure. It's about image. You got to clean all that up, and to do that, the administration's got to be on hand, the police department's got to be on hand, and everybody's got to coordinate. And for some unforeseen reason, they do not, but everybody's got to get together on one hand and do what they're supposed to do. That's the point, and I'm to the point. You know, stop fighting each other so much and secret agendas. Get off their personal agendas and do what you have to do for the people. And that's my assessment of that.
Well, you can fool some people some of the time, but you're not likely to fool somebody who's got $10 million investment on the table. That person is looking at Oakland's safety. They don't want their employees coming through here getting robbed at night. They don't want their new customers getting robbed. They don't want their inventory being ran out the back door or running down the street. So until you solve the public safety problem, you can't expect that any new revenue is going to be here year after year. There's red tape in every city. There are other problems with potholes in every city. But the thing that sets Oakland apart from every other city is Oakland's reputation as an unsafe city. That's what it's going to take to fix that image and, of course, to fix the reality of the crime problem in Oakland. That's what we have to focus on and get out of the way before we can expect anybody who's got enough money to make a difference to bring their stores here.
Well, first, I would invite people in the audience, if you haven't done so, please check out my white papers outside or go to joetuman.com. There's an extensive discussion on the attraction of retail there, more than I can give you in 60 seconds. But let me do a little math for us here. Based on the number of household incomes in Oakland that are north of $100,000 a year, and that's a lot of households in the city, the projection is that we lose retail spending, our dollars to other communities, $3.5 billion with a B dollars a year, which for the city, by the way, translates to a loss of 1% of that, or $35 million every year. So there should be an incentive to go after retail, simply because of the previous question you asked about balancing of budgets. But the reality is, people don't shop here, the people who live here, for all the reasons you've heard tonight about public safety, not having extra places like in the downtown to shop, parking, transit, and the rest. If we're going to attract retail, however, we have to plan differently. We have to plan first for the people who live here, not as we've done in the past, for the people we'd like to attract, which is code for white, affluent people. They don't come from other communities here for all the reasons you said. We start by planning for people who live here and providing retail for those of us who live here.
I am going to start thousands of retail businesses right here in Oakland with the people that we do have. A few months ago, I was in Oakland High. Those students asked me, hey, what's a business idea look like? And I tell them, hey, why not you come up with a bed frame that is like a tube shape? And they were like, a tube shape? Isn't that crazy? And I was like, no, you build a tube that is 1-inch steel that you could put any mattresses in, and that it would withstand 20,000 pounds, so that even if an earthquake happens and a 3-story building collapses on you, you would still survive. If you shot at it with an AK-47, it'll bounce bullets, okay? And that, you could sell it to retail for $5,000 when the cost of making it would be $1,000. So that is one of the business ideas I put out to the students, and they like it. And it's like that kind of ideas that would spark the industry in Oakland. Thank you.
The last thing I want to do is turn Oakland into another Emeryville. For anyone who's been following the trend of big box retailer, you know that industry is on its way down. Amazon is taking most of the share of that industry. So with that, and the fact that employment in these big boxes are low skill, low pay, and low energy, I don't think that's where I would be focusing my attention on. I would be focusing on the cottage industry, empowering people to become their own employers, having a high energy, high creativity, and high paying jobs. So with that, I would facilitate it by having special zoning districts that cater to them, having common services for them, and also having cutting down the red tape so that they don't have to jump through so many hoops in order to get a business started. Our differentiation is the creativity and the innovation that we have in our community.
That during Loma Parade, a number of our local officials here and local leaders did a tremendous job of making sure the community was secure, and there was job training that was available that came from that, like Cypress Mandela. So I just want everybody to give a round of applause to our officials and in honor of the people, as well as Paul Cobbs for their work. The fourth question, as mayor, how would you increase the city's involvement with fostering Oakland Schools' Linked Learning Initiative to help all students in Oakland graduate prepared for college and career?
Linked learning is one of the most important items in my agenda about moving our city forward. We have to realize that unless we have jobs, we can't get out of the situation that we're in, which is having enough money to invest in things. But if we don't educate our children and prepare them for the future, we don't have a skilled workforce that allows us to attract these businesses. So as is envisioned in Measure N, I think it's important that we get more money into the schools so that we can bring back things like trades, and that we get good apprentice programs, ship programs going with our trades, that we are putting computer science as early as the 5th grade in our schools, so that these jobs of tomorrow, which in my plan would be technology jobs, kids all over the city will be ready to go and do. investing in workforce investment here and through our community colleges, I think, are a way towards this linked learning.
You know, we go through identical concepts with new terms, right? When I was a kid, we called it job training. Now we call it linked learning. And the issue, in my mind, when we talk about job training, is training people for jobs that actually exist instead of jobs that don't exist, and training them for jobs that want the schools to train people to do. When you go to work in a technology company, they want to train you in the technology. They want you to come with reading skills, with basic math skills, and with the ethics of being a good employee. So let me give you 3 examples. As I said before, we are opening up thousands of jobs in the hospitality industry, and we don't see Oakland kids, particularly African-American kids, working in the restaurants. We need to train. We need to train young people to be police officers, to qualify for the test, to be able to pass the test and get through the training. And we need to train people for jobs in healthcare. And we need to focus on training our young people for jobs that actually exist.
That is your time.
Well, the first step is to motivate the youngsters, to let them know that there's more to do besides just be in school. I started off myself as somebody who didn't know anything, couldn't do anything. And then one day, the last white guy in the neighborhood, I used to work for him for $1 an hour doing construction work as a kid. He told me, he says, Pat, you know, you're a smart ass. Some people won't like you. You need to find something you can do that will keep you food in your mouth. You got to find something you can do no matter what. I picked up electronics. And I know that was a linkage for me because it made sense. And as I walk around, I see youngsters out here in the street, and I'm thinking, okay, where do they think their cell phone payment is going to come from next? Those are the things that are missing that a leader needs to put back into their heads. They don't see the linkage. And it's a very simple thing of putting it back there to them and supporting it as it goes along. That's what I'll do.
We need to inspire our youth to want to stay in school. Not all of them are going to go to college. We need to bring back the shop programs where they're taught how to use their hands. We've got graffiti all over the city because there's no art classes in school anymore. These kids want something to do. They need hope. We have no jobs. We can talk all we want about the ideals of what we think is going to happen, but we're in reality. We have no jobs here in the United States. How many of you out there have your children still living at home? How many of you have kids that have graduated with PhDs, BAs, and are sitting at home with no jobs because they can't find them? We have a serious problem here. We are going automated. What, Amazon is going to start delivering by drones? I mean, come on. We need jobs. And we can't tell our kids, you've got to go to college, you've got to get educated, if we've got no future for them. Thank you.
A 2006 study of high school dropouts showed that one of the most common responses as to why children drop out of school is because they did not find their education to be relevant. Now, Oakland has a shameful dropout statistic. Nearly half of our kids are not finishing high school. Ensuring that all our children finish high school with the college or career of their choice is one of my highest priorities as a leader and something that I have worked tirelessly on throughout my life. And just a few ways that we can support the Linked Learning Initiative, and I also just want to refer people to my website, libbyformayor.com. I have a 9-page policy paper about education. First of all, we can pass Measure N. Please vote for it this November. Secondly, the city can lead by example and provide thousands of internships within our organization and provide incentives for our employees, not just to house internships, but also mentor.
I went to a public school and university, and I can honestly say now it's obsolete, okay? Today's education is pretty much useless for me. If you know how to read and do basic math, you can start your own company as young as 12, and you'll be successful by the time you're 20s, okay? I learned the hard way, okay? I've been through college, hey, thinking I'll come out and get a job automatically. That's not gonna happen, okay? College degrees are only useful if they could get you a license in the field of study. Otherwise, you could just self-educate yourself at the library and save yourself a lot of money that way. okay? So if I had to redo it all over, my life, I would just quit at middle school, be a dropout, and then create my own companies using this method that I created. Thank you.
So the number one priority is to keep the kids in school. We have a proven record by way of the Ever Forward Club, that's sponsored by Ashanti Branch in our school district with extreme success. The answer is we fortify, we assist those kinds of programs that keep our Black and Hispanic young men in school. Second to that, I would expand our partnership that has had a tremendous success with the Khan Academy. Sal Khan, who is a revolutionary in education in Palo Alto, with a program that has been taken up worldwide with support from Bill Gates and every educator that knows these things. I would emphasize on that so that we have interesting and engaging classrooms whereby children read and learn on their own pace and they achieve success, not because they just grow by a year, but actually because they obtain 100% of what they are supposed to learn.
I know if you hear these forums, you would think that there are no new jobs and no booming economy. We've cut the unemployment from 17 to about 8 something right now. And that's not enough, and it's still higher in the rest of the Bay Area. But it's 15,000 new jobs. And what I've found as mayor is that sometimes I can't get our kids into those jobs because they haven't finished high school, haven't even got their GED because of the way the system's structured right now. So there are a lot of deltas in the audience, and a lot of them are the best educators the school district had. So they know that when I say that when I talked to the summer interns this year, that many of the kids said, you know, I didn't know these jobs existed. I hadn't been out of my neighborhood. And that having those summer intern jobs gave them some hope and open the windows in their horizon. So the school-linked programs and growing the Mayor Summer Job programs and the Academy internships in healthcare, in the areas where we're growing, where there are going to be many, many good jobs, is absolutely critical to changing the future of our kids.
I didn't learn motivation in a classroom or college. As a chief, motivation is one of the things I had to learn. And at the same time, I had to look at the root of most of the problems to the kids that came in the Navy. And when you have to build an individual and send him to war, you're doing something that is heart-wrenching and sometimes disappointing. But the big thing is hunger in the schools. I remember going to school hungry. That was the catalyst, and that was the biggest thing. And in today's educational system, and I'm going to say something that I have not heard here from anybody, it's called psychological aggressiveness. When you're hungry, you get aggressive, period. You know, and you can talk all this other stuff and tell people you're going to do this and you're going to do this, but you got to find a way to get these kids off the hunger rolls where they can think and where they can feel like they're kids, and put them all in uniforms, every doggone one of them, because there's a social level coming into the schools right now that's very dangerous.
It's incredibly important that we stop blaming young people for what's going on in our economy. And, you know, young people have not been the cause of the increase in crime, but they get disproportionately blamed for it. And we have laws that require young people to be in school, and yet the school is allowed to push them out. And we have a serious problem in which black children are being pushed out of school for things that a white kid doing is not pushed out of school for. And so people are having that opportunity taken away. So that's one thing that needs to stop. In addition, we need to restore vocational training, things like auto shop and carpentry and cooking and healthcare, because even though some jobs have been shifted overseas, if you have a car accident and you need your car repaired, you're not going to ship your car overseas to have it repaired and shipped back. You're going to do that here. We could have those jobs right here. The same with cooking, the same with healthcare. These are jobs that exist, and we need to provide the education that goes to them.
I think that my first part of the answer to this question would be, how would I increase the city's participation? I would fund a beta study of a particular high school in West Oakland, at a high school that already has, or at a high school that has an academy, a technology program that would allow at the end of a 6-month period 1 industrial grade certification. And this would actually be taught by Stride, which is a nonprofit in town, that teaches someone how to break down a CPU and put it back together again, not unlike those of us who took shop, broke down our parents' lawnmowers and then put them back together in shop. The idea is to make them efficient and proficient, rather, at understanding how these are constructed. Stride actually works with adults doing this right now. We could do this with seniors in high school who maybe don't want to go to college just yet and would like a chance at working. The other answer to this question, though, is, of course, you have to increase the number of businesses that you attract here, and you also have to advocate for OUSD to do their intervention, if we're talking about our people of color and especially young black males, earlier than in high school. You have to go all the way back with that intervention to elementary school and preschool education.
So government is responsible to our children to both educate them and to keep them safe. Link learning is a strategy to help our kids succeed. In order for link learning to work, we have got to make sure that we have jobs. In order to have jobs, we have to have a safe city. In order for us to have a safe city, we have to have City Hall to be able to function and to be able to provide the resources to those businesses, cut the red tape, many of the things that you've heard tonight. So in order to attract those employers to tie into link learning, we have to have a strategy that works, and this is a sector-led approach. We need to know the businesses that we have today to make sure that our kids are job ready, so it's tying that link learning right into the businesses today, and then 5, 10, 15 years down the road, the businesses that we want to attract and make sure that our kids are, through that link learning, coming out job ready. And what we know is they're not coming out job ready. That Bear is going to Texas right now because our kids aren't graduating with basic STEM skills.
What qualities, skills, and background will you require of the person you select when you are mayor as city administrator?
Well, let me start by saying that I already have an individual in mind for this, but this person, he or she, already has a job like this somewhere else, but I have thought these things through, so this is more than just an academic question for me. So here's my answer. I think that the next person in the mayor's office is going to have an opportunity to make some real changes in the city that sometimes may require difficult conversations with all sorts of stakeholders in this town, ranging anywhere from our labor partners to the development community, to the nonprofits, to taxpayers, to the different chambers of commerce, to a whole range of people. And I would first of all want a city administrator who shares my vision about the necessity for those conversations and about making certain kinds of priorities that we stick to where the budget is concerned. The other thing that I would tell you is that I want somebody who has local experience, and this individual does, and some institutional knowledge of how this works. And finally, I want someone who shares my value that says we're not going to sign contracts, for example, with our labor partners and then not set aside the money to honor those contracts. We're not going to pay for, or say we're going to pay for things and then not pay for them. We will live within our means and we'll grow our budget.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Oakland's a pretty complex city, so being mayor is a hard job, and so is being the city administrator, particularly in an evolving, strong mayor platform. I guess I would want someone with the grace and the poetry of Henry Gardner, who seems to be able to talk to anyone and not offend them. But we are at a time now where the city doesn't have to constantly respond to emergencies. When you think about my first year, I had to do the budget 4 times. I found out the property taxes were going to come down for the first time in history. Redevelopment went away. We had huge social crises. And so part of it is just those management skills, but now we have a chance to not just cut, but to rebuild in a way that meets our dreams and our hopes and aspirations, and to involve our employees and our community more. So I'm looking for someone who's a good administrative organizer as well as a tough financial person, and somebody who can inspire and lead the workforce.
Yeah, we need a mayor who could deliver, okay? We need somebody who could lead, okay? People who don't know what they're supposed to do, I will tell them what to do, okay? If you're just follow what I say, what I do, okay, you're going to be successful just as like me, okay? There's no question about it. I've been honest throughout all my life, okay? I never cheated anybody. I never spoken a lie that was very big, okay? Small I. I'm an insurance agent, so. Okay, yeah, that's it.
3 specific skills I would look for in the next city administrator. I want someone who has vision. I don't want a bureaucrat. I want someone who will help me advocate for the kind of radical systems change we need in this city to make it a great city. Secondly, I want someone who has a collaborative approach, not a dictatorial approach or a condescending approach to dealing with city workers and residents of the city. We need to get people to understand that if they work for the city, they're appreciated and that we expect them to do their best job in working for us as a government and as working for the public. And number 3, I want someone with financial skills, not just to look at the budget and figure out how to balance the budget, but how to figure out how we can gain the increased revenue we need in the city to pay for the services that I want to provide to the city and the people of Oakland.
So in terms of the city administrator, I think there's a bucket of about 5 things. One, a person with a heart and compassion for all people in all parts of Oakland, and an interest in really driving that message home. I think it's important because that will be how we drive community policing, economic development, and nurturing of schools all over our city. Somebody with intellect, PR skills to help tell the story of this place, and skills in crisis management. Strong finance and data skills. I want somebody that's helped turn around another city that was on the brink of financial trouble. Somebody that is transparent. And then lastly, somebody that's innovative. Somebody that will think outside the box and come up with new solutions to getting things done.
I do not have a city manager in mind yet, but I certainly know some people that I will consult on in the selection process. I'm going to go out and search for someone who is a consummate professional, who has a proven track record, and who has really done not just a great job, but an inspirational job. I want a results-driven manager, someone who is going to provide clear leadership for this city and accountability, but also inspire and motivate our workforce. And I want someone with an innovative intellect and maybe even an innovative soul. Someone who is going to embrace change and trying things differently and making this organization responsive to the innovative residents that the city serves. And finally, I want someone who loves Oakland, someone who is interested in understanding our incredible communities and is going to bring a passion for their job.
Well, I guess foremost, I want somebody who's a real nerd. I need to have somebody who's going to work with me and is an expert in policies, procedures, best practices, all the jargon, and who's going to be able to basically stay in the shadows. I don't want to have to compete with my city administrator. I'm going to be the lead in the city, and I want my administrator to make it easy for me to do that by working with the employees, being respectful for them, also being respectful of the people who don't have any connections, who don't have any money. That's the type of person that we need to keep in the city, regardless of who the mayor is. So some of the problems we've had before seem to revolve around personalities, power struggle. That won't happen under my administration. There'll be somebody you can trust when I'm out of town. There'll be somebody who can handle emergency when I'm away, who won't know when not to call the police. All these things can be handled, and you can be sure I'll be the one to do it right for you.
So one of my greatest joys is putting together a high-performing team. And when we look at the city, we know that the city administrator is critical. We need a city administrator who has the requisite skills and a strong constitution for a city that sometimes is challenged with accountability, that has an entrenched culture that you have to fight through at times to get to the results that we know Oakland deserves. So I'm seeking someone who stands ready to come forth because the city is so amazing, and we can have a city government as great as our city. But they're going to have to be sure that they're going to have to stand their ground. So I want someone with a proven track record and the knowledge and inspiration to know that we can achieve a safe and well-run city. With the right team and the right focus, we will deliver that.
I believe that the search for the next city administrator should be starting as soon as possible. Selecting the new city administrator, if I have the honor to be chosen mayor, wouldn't be the first thing I would do after being sworn in January. It would be something I would start immediately. We need to make sure to recruit someone, first of all, who wants to be here and will stay. Second of all, someone who cares more about getting things done than they care about puffery or showing off. And we need someone who is committed to doing what's right for Oakland. They have to be someone who's not looking over their shoulder for the next opportunity all the time, but putting in the time and the effort and the dedication to get things done. I also think there's something wise we can learn here from Exodus chapter 18, verse 21, Jethro's advice to Moses. First of all, don't try to do it all yourself. Second of all, when choosing other leaders to work with you, choose those who are trustworthy and spurn ill-gotten gain.
Now you have me up to...
My first introduction to a city manager in Oakland was Henry Gardner, and then Craig Koshin. And then Oakland started spiraling, and we lost vision. When we got one city manager, all of a sudden, all the administrators got their raises, but the city staff was still left behind. I want an administrator that is going to think of Oakland first, work with the unions, be supportive of the staff in Oakland. That's been lacking for a long time, and we need to change that. Be respectful of the citizens of Oakland and know Oakland. They also need to understand finances, and they need to know how to do a budget. Until Henry Gardner came back, we had very few people in the city that actually knew how to do a budget, because most of them had left. Oakland has laid off over 800 people, and we have not gotten them back yet. So we need someone that's going to sit here and lead and not afraid to say no. Thank you.
So am I the last person?
You would correct me.
on
No,
this?
you're not the last person.
I'm not.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's okay. I'm close to the last, and I will tell you, not one person used the word integrity and principle in their answer. The number one qualification this person must have is principles and integrity, and that's why I'm in this race, to bring principles into politics. But with regards to the practical skills, they mostly talked about it. The last thing this person will have is going to be a spinmeister who will take numbers and or figures and things like that to spin it in a way that looks attractive when in reality it's not. So with that, I would have somebody also who is transparent to our citizens and gives them the access that they need to understand what's going on in our city, is action-oriented, and I would always pick attitude over aptitude. We can teach people, they can learn, but one thing you cannot replace is what's in their heart. That's the person that we want to serve as our city administrator.
If you have ever seen an aircraft carrier being built, logistic people are the best. Dignity, perseverance, dedication, passion, heart, and the love for what they do. That is the kind of person that I would like to have as a city administrator. Openly, somebody who's got the guts to tell you where he is and to put you where you should be. And I think that there's a lot of those people around. No big problem finding them. You know, if they can put something like that together, the city of Oakland should be no great thing.
Now we will move to closing statements. Each candidate has 1 minute for a closing statement. And we will do the reverse order from what was drawn in the beginning for the opening statement.
If I was your mayor, I would bring sort of a military air to the city of Oakland. Organization is one of the things that I believe in. I've been on this thing for 52 years, 55 years, I take that back. I grew up learning to build ships to Sacramento and to Camden in 1967, 68, and 69. I had to learn everything from budgeting to you name it, problem solving, but also I had to learn to assemble the right team with the right people at the right time, because chemistry is one of the most important things, and I have not heard anybody say anything about the chemistry and success. You have to be successful, and unlike a ship, Oakland does not get underway. But it's critical in how you put everything together. And believe it or not, living by example.
My name's Courtney Ruby, and it's time to tell it like it is. We do have the best city in the Bay Area, and we have got to fix this broken government. I have spent the last 8 years as your elected city auditor, reporting out on where government is broken. I not only know how to analyze it, but I know how to fix it. I know that my eyes are wide open. From being your independent watchdog, I'm the insider who is the outsider, who has not been a part of the problem. So it is incumbent that we take the reports that I have in identifying millions of dollars when we looked at police technology, $2 million that was spent on technology that was never used or underused. The parking ticket system, $2.3 million in refunds due to the citizens and businesses that the government didn't know about. It's time to have someone in the mayor's office with the finance and management expertise to realize Oakland's potential and have a safe and well-run city.
Thank you again for having this evening and letting us speak before you, and to KTOP for putting this on the air. I'm running again because I want change in Oakland. We've had leaders in Oakland, and 4 of them are sitting here. 3 of them keep making promises of what they're going to do. Trouble is, they've been on the council, and one's a mayor. And what are we promising for? Why aren't we doing it now? We need to seriously look at the other candidates and ask them why the media is not covering them, why they're not being asked the hard questions by the public because they're not being allowed to speak. Discrimination works really well in Oakland, but we need to change that. There are people running that need to be heard, and the media needs to open up their papers and their channels so they can be heard, so that people have a choice and not just being told how to vote. Thank you.
I've had an amazing almost 4 years being the mayor of the city during some of the toughest times in our history. And together, we've made the city rise. It's not just my work. I'm an optimist at heart, and I wouldn't be mayor today if I weren't an optimist. Nobody gave me a chance 4 years ago. But no one has taken on tougher issues than I have as mayor in the last few terms of mayors. I will put my record against anyone. Police reform, making sure that we work more closely with the schools, getting over 1 million square feet of retail going, getting 11,000 homes in the pipeline. We only built 900 homes in the 90s. We are undergoing an amazing time of growth. I've brought in billions of dollars of investments to this city, and I've done it in a way that visited every neighborhood, that had town hall neighborhoods in every community in a way, in a broader way, with a broader base of support than any of the candidates up here. I've done real things. I haven't just promised them. Thank you.
Many people want Oakland to be a great city. We're only going to be a great city if we have a great vision for change. We need to redefine the discussion of public safety to create public safety, which means safety from bad education, safety from poverty, safety from unemployment. We need a new direction in this city. I invite all of you to come tomorrow, 2 o'clock, First AME Church, 3701 Telegraph. Former Congressman Dennis Kucinich and a group of leaders nationally and locally will lead a discussion about how to reimagine Oakland, to create a program to transform this city so we're not tinkering around the edges, so we're not accepting the status quo, so we can make this a great city that meets the interests of all the people here, not simply the wealthy, not simply the poor, but that works for all of us. Thank you.
So I guess before you show up down there on Telegraph, you can come out to 82nd and Bancroft to St. Benedict's. We're going to have a rally on the east side of town so that we can show that all parts of our city matter, that we have these two cities, and that we're going to work on bringing a vision that unites us and makes us better together. City Hall is broken. We can't keep sending back the same people and expecting a different result. I think we've got to look at the opportunity set and let there be a lesson to our kids that you're not going to be limited in how far you can go by where you start in life. I'll close on 2 quick lessons. and that was from my mom there, who was in the civil rights struggle and raised me as a single mother out in Stockton. My opportunities were winning a scholarship to Berkeley and another one to NYU School of Law. We need to give the same thing to all our kids. Second one is my grandfather, who was a 30-year owner of a funeral home. And he would say, son, go to work, bring your hard hat every day, and that's what I would do as mayor. I hope you'll consider me.
Let me start by saying thank you, and we haven't done this tonight. I'd very much like to get your first place vote in this election. I'll be happy to vote with a second or a third if I'm not your first place choice. We always usually say that. I want to tell you that I'm running in this race because I also want to bring real and meaningful change where public safety and economic development are concerned. Again, I invite you to check out my website and the materials we have outside. I'm very much about correcting the situation with the police in terms of staffing numbers and the like, but also going after the long-term systemic causes of crime in the city, which have to do with poverty. I'll remind you, that has to do with housing, meaningful partnership with the school district in terms of education, and the attraction of private investment for jobs. Let me lastly say that I share some of the sentiment that you've heard tonight, questioning not the motives and the good intentions of those who have served before, but their records. They're asking you to judge them on their records. And I will say the people who have served for many years in this city have given you the city you have. If you think it can be better, you should be asking, if they have these solutions, why they haven't enacted them already.
If you give me your uneducated, the poor, the unemployed, I will turn them into superstars.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. In the private sector, we don't accept or tolerate failure no matter how good the excuse. So let me give you the 3 distinguishing and defining characteristics about me and my candidacy for you to make an informed decision. 1, I have refused to take any donation from any source whatsoever, and therefore I will not be remote controlled by the big money after I'm elected. Number 2, I've published a set of discrete, actionable, and measurable programs that you can hold me accountable to after the elections. And number 3, as I alluded to earlier, the city of Oakland defines its mayor's position as an executive position. Above all others, I have had the most meaningful executive position in large enterprises that can do the job and be successful. Thank you. I ask for your #1 vote. Please go to my website, oaklandmayormovement.org, and see the programs. Thank you.
Again, I'm Libby Schaff. I'm Made in Oakland. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I received 2 really great endorsements over the last few weeks. One from Governor Jerry Brown, who's somebody who knows what it takes to be mayor of Oakland. He endorsed me because he knows that I know Oakland, I can get things done, I understand public safety, and I have a lifetime of working to improve the public education system in Oakland. The second endorsement was from the East Bay Express, a newspaper that pays careful attention to what happens in city government. They endorsed me because I was the progressive candidate who had the most ability to get things done, was going to restore community policing, who was smart, hardworking, and had the best commitment to good government. Government is complicated. Local government is on the bottom of the dog pile. I really hope to have your vote. Thank you for being here tonight. Again, Libby Schaff.
Patrick McCullough, and my website is patforoakland.com. Okay? I haven't raised any money. I haven't sought endorsements. I haven't kissed anybody's butt to try to back me. What I want to do is to stand on my actual record, which you can find. You know, it's time to really do some really hard, critical thinking, not rely on the biased reporters, not rely on these people who've got a stake in the game, which is basically it's in your pocket. That's what they've got in this thing. And give you somebody, me, who is really ready to run the city, do it honestly, motivate the people who have been cast aside or set themselves aside from the mainstream. All these things that you've heard tonight are just part of the problem. And you haven't really heard the vision that I have for Oakland, which is just to make it a beautiful place that is safe for everybody. You can vote me in, and you can be sure that that's what's going to happen. Thanks.
Thank you for your time and your attention tonight. My name is Rebecca Kaplan, and I would be honored to have your vote to be your mayor, to strengthen our effort to provide quality of life and access to jobs for everyone in Oakland. I'm proud of the work I've already done as a council member, fighting for programs like Civic Corps, formerly known as the East Bay Conservation Corps, which takes in young people, including those who've dropped out of high school, including those who've had a criminal record, and helps them get specifically a GED and a job, as Brian Parker mentioned earlier. I fought for and won the inclusion of that program in our waste contract so that more of our young people can have access to that kind of opportunity. I have fought for and won for the City of Oakland to do a disparity study to stop mistreating our local businesses and work to support to enforce a law which shouldn't have needed enforcement because Councilmember Brooks passed it years ago to require prompt payment of the city's bills. I'd be honored to have your support. Good evening.
I just want you guys to give everyone a round of applause just for their time.